you know. Calls to order this meeting of the Salem Historic Landmarks Commission on April 16th. And can I please have the roll?
Commissioner Olguin,
Here.
Commissioner Cornetti, Commissioner Strauss,
Here.
Commissioner Kaiser,
Here.
Commissioner Strong, here, Commissioner Kurtman,
Here.
Commissioner Inman,
Here.
Got Commissioner Weathers is absent, excused, and I'm not sure Commissioner Cornetti. Or sorry,
Miller.
Miller. Yeah, Miller. All right. Sorry, Commissioner Cornetti's here. Right. Miller, right. All right, is there any public comment? We have members of the public here, which is kind of unusual. Welcome to our meeting. Does anybody would like to address the commission? That's fine if you don't. I'll get to that later. So, okay, I'll move on to the consent calendar. And I will entertain a motion for the approval of our minutes from the March 19th, 2026 meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no.
Alex abstains.
Okay, great, motion passes. We'll now move on to the public hearing for HIS 26-05 from 625 Church Street Southeast, and see to pull up my process here. Okay. I will now open the public hearing for historic review case HIS 26-05 for 625 Church Street Southeast. And I'm gonna call on staff for to read the hearing procedure statement into the record.
This is a public hearing to consider case number HIS 26-05 for property located at 625 Church Street Southeast. The criteria applicable to this hearing are listed in Salem Revised Code, Chapter 230.065, General Guidelines for Historic Contributing Resources. Failure to raise an issue prior to the close of the public hearing with statements or evidence sufficient to afford the hearings officer and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the State Land Use Board of Appeals on that issue. A similar failure to raise constitutional issues relating to proposed conditions of approval precludes an action for damages in circuit court. Prior to the conclusion of the hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence or testimony. The hearings officer will then either continue the public hearing or leave the record open for at least 7 days.
All right, thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte contacts that any commissioner would like to declare at this time? All right, seeing none. May we now have the staff presentation?
Good evening. I'm Jake Morris, Historic Preservation Planner for the City of Salem. I'd like to enter the staff report, its attachments, and all public testimony into the public record. This property is located at 625 Church Street Southeast and is a contributing resource to the Gaiety Hill Bush Pasture Park Historic District. On March 4th, 2026, applicants submitted materials for a major historic design review for a proposal to repair and enlarge the existing porch located on the primary east facade of the residence located at 625 Church Street Southeast. The application was deemed complete for processing on March 24th, 2026. Little history about the property. The Oregon Historic Site Record from 1986 describes the house as a one-story rectangular bungalow of wood frame construction built circa 1920. Features noted in the description include the hip-on gable roof with open eaves and exposed rafters, composition shingles, and a three-sided hip roof over the center front door. The historic image of the house taken in 1978 shows that it is set upon a low foundation and the center projecting entrance is flanked by large French door assemblies on both sides. In 2024, an application for historic design review, HIS 0409, was submitted by the then owner to raise the foundation of the house, citing risk of flooding and pre-existing foundation deterioration at the rear. This is an image showing the house just prior to the foundation raising. The right of the image shows the main facade with the inward swinging French doors. No known historic documentation shows whether any porch or balcony was in place during the period of significance. The 1927 Sanborn on the left, there you can see the inset, only shows the center porch, so it did that. Part of this 2004 application included 2 new porches to allow the French doors flanking the center to remain functional without creating a fall hazard. There's the image of they made there. The Historic Landmarks Commission decision required the initial design of the front porch to be revised to minimize impact on the house. The decision provided 3 alternatives. 1, design the front porch to reflect its historical configuration based on photographic or physical evidence. 2, design the front porch to reflect the style of the house based on similar houses in the area. Or 3, design the front porch to reflect the style of 1920 cottages based on design plans, trade journals, that sort of thing. Finding no historic photographs taken prior to 76, the improved design was based on features found in similar houses in the area. The approved design was an all-wooded construction with balconies approximately 4 feet deep, flanking the existing center enclosed porch entrance, and a center staircase with a small landing in front of the entry door. The current house exterior is generally unchanged from this appearance, from what it looked like in 2005 after this project. And since this is an unusual house because of the raising, I thought it would be good to give some context on best practices for evaluating raised properties. The most comprehensive document we would have for that would be the Secretary of Interior Guidelines for Full Adaptation, which was released in 2021. One of the identified adaptation methods in this document is to elevate the building on a new foundation. The guidance applies to large as well as small buildings. This image shows an entire block in Chicago being raised 4 feet in 1857. And you can see there the blocking there on that in the center. One thing about the guidance is it notes that a smaller scale building may be difficult to elevate more than a few feet without having an impact on its historic character. With some exceptions, elevating a small building at a high approaching full story will not meet the second standards for rehabilitation. Historic setting, features, spaces, and materials should be preserved if they are important in conveying the historic association's character and significance of the property. As the height of a building increases, meeting the standards will be more challenging because of substantial change to the character and appearance of foundations, basements, etc., as well as other exterior features. This example here is a side-by-side that was shown as a appropriate raising, and you can see there's pretty minimal This next example would be, it's a larger building, it's a two-story building, but as you can see here, that raising there created a lot of changes to the entrance, and also the longer feels grounded into the ground. And there's no way to, the elevation's been camouflaged. Another approach would be to make the style look similar, but still the extent of the raising just by itself can cause issues. As you see there, they were taking cues from the building, but it's hard to know what is old and new. And then also the building is now a full two-story building here. Although this building was also significantly raised, it was determined to be appropriate. One thing about this is in areas in which it was historically common to raise buildings like the Gulf Coast area, or areas right alongside rivers, or that sort of thing. There's more flexibility in raising because there's a more historic precedent. And also, sometimes they will raise whole streetscapes, at a time, which changes relationship to the buildings between each other isn't changed in that. And then this is one that is presented as a case study. And although significantly raised, it was determined to be appropriate. It was in that Gulf area we were talking about. And the staircase in this, you can see, was rerouted, and that was to accommodate the pre-existing tree, which was part of the historic landscape. One thing that staff attempted to do is find a case that was more exact, in which there were French doors or some sort of entrance that we couldn't find any evidence that there was something there, and we couldn't find anything that was an exact match. So this building's a little unusual in that regard. But one thing you'll notice, all of these that they determined were historic. You can see the remaining characteristics other than the raising, especially those that were nominating, identified in the nomination. But those were retained in that raising and were altered. And in this property specifically, in the National Register, the nomination, we have the hip-on gable roof with the open eaves and exposed rafters, the composition shingles, and a three-sided hip roof. So the roof, the siding materials, the fenestration patterns, all of those are things you would want to look at regardless of the extent of the raising. Then back to this proposal. The house is set back approximately 65 feet from Church Street, and the grade decreases from the street. So standing at the street, the property goes down, and then it comes back up towards the very rear of the property. So it's kind of set into a basin. And on the left there, you can kind of see that's your eye line from Church Street there, to get an idea of what the elevation is on the ground. And the applicant is requesting approval to modify the existing porch and balustrade. The existing porches flank the sides of the projecting front entry and are currently 4 foot in depth by 13 feet in length, comprised of wood decking and characterized by a wooden rail supported by evenly spaced wooden rectangular balusters. The existing do not currently extend beyond the projecting front bay of the historic resource. There's an existing wooden staircase with landing at the center of the resource leading to the front entry. The proposed new rectangular porch is designed to extend across the entire front of the house and will increase the depth of the existing porch deck by 8 feet, projecting 12 feet from the main wall surface and 5.5 feet from the very front face of the projecting center entrance. The existing staircase will be removed and reconstructed at the center of the porch and will maintain the same dimensions as the existing staircase. A wooden balustrade is proposed around the perimeter of the porch to match the existing balustrade profiles. And this is a depiction of the elevation of the proposed porch next to, on the left, what is there currently. And the materials proposed entirely of wood and be painted to match the existing trim on the house. And then we did receive testimony on this property. The neighborhood association provided detailed comments, which are included in your packet. And one of the major comments, there was an objection to the overall scale of the proposed porch alteration. And then the public comment letters we received during the comment period. One public comment, and that the concern that the porch in the narrative said it would be painted eventually, and they had a concern that it would be painted. And then building and safety, with the city reviewed proposal, noted that the building permit was already applied for, and they had no additional comments, and there were no other city or public comments. And then the application is being evaluated under section 230.065, general guidelines for historic contributing resources. The first guideline A, states that the property shall be used for historic purpose. There's no proposed change to that, so staff recommends this guideline is met. Guideline B states that the historic materials, finishes, and features shall be preserved. Since the proposal doesn't impact historic materials, finishes, or features, staff recommends this guideline has been met. Guideline C states the distinctive stylistic features or examples of skilled craftsmanship shall be treated sensitively. Since the proposal is removable, does not further obscure the projecting center bay or other identified historic features, staff recommends this guideline has been met. Guideline D states that the restorations and reconstructions must be supported by evidence. Since no restoration or reconstruction is proposed, staff recommends HLC find this guideline is not applicable. Guideline E states the changes that have gained historic significance should be recognized. Since the foundation raising and the current porches were added after the 1938 end of the district period of significance, and also they are less than 50 years old, staff recommends this guideline has been met. Guideline F states that the additions and alterations to a historic resource shall be designed and constructed to minimize changes to the historic resource. Proposal is directly impacting only non-historic features and is using traditional materials and finishes. Staff recommends this guideline has been met. Please note the staff did not evaluate the overall scale and shape of the proposed porch, other than that it's symmetrical like the rest of it. That is more of an indirect change, and evaluation of appropriateness of scale and shape is inherently more discretionary than things like symmetry and materials and that sort of thing. Guideline G states that historic materials be retained and significant features are not obscured, damaged, or destroyed. Since the proposal is removable, does not obscure character defining features, staff recommends that HLC find this is met, but better to meet the criteria, the following two conditions are recommended. The first is the applicant shall paint the entire porch assembly to match the existing. And condition 2 is that the applicant shall construct the porch balustrade to match the existing both design and materials. Criteria. Guideline H states that structural repairs be sensitive. Since this proposal is not addressing structural deficiencies, staff recommends this guideline is not applicable. And guideline I states that the excavation that can be damaging to the foundation is not allowed. Staff recommends this guideline is also not applicable. Staff recommendation is based on the applicant's submittal, comments received, and the findings presented, staff recommends the HLC approve the proposal with the minimum conditions. Condition 1, the applicant shall paint the entire porch assembly to match the existing porch. And condition 2, the applicant shall construct the porch balustrade to match the existing one in both design and materials. That concludes the presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Do any of the commissioners have questions?
So the 1978 is the earliest photo we have of this.
I believe so. Earliest we could find.
And it looks like it's been categorized as a bungalow in the National Register document.
Yes. Mhm.
Could you just talk a little bit, or maybe provide a little bit of detail for the commission on what character defining features of a bungalow might be, just so we're kind of thinking about that as we start our discussion?
Sure. Most bungalows are craftsman style, but it's more of a house form than the style. So you can, even though it's rare, it doesn't have to have a lot of those features. But this particular one is also a craftsman. And so you usually have 1 to 1.5 story property. It will have things like, depending on the roof orientation, sometimes it's pretty prominent. More often than not, they'll have a front porch. This one just historically is, from what we could tell, we know for a fact from the Sanborn maps, it had that center projecting feature. And one thing I've noticed in coming to Oregon, I've noticed that the porches tend to be smaller than a lot of times, like a Midwestern bungalow would have a full length. But a lot of times here, I think maybe to let more light in, they're kind of abbreviated. So sometimes you have a picture window, and that's appropriate as well. Usually relatively simple elements, more of a cottage than a large, a large property. So I'd say those are kind of the main. So when you look at that, when you look at the house proper, starting the foundation, you can kind of see, the craftsman elements that are common in bungalows are kind of like the overhanging eaves. Sometimes you'll see clip gables and things. Sometimes you'll see dormers. It just depends. But usually you at least get the impression that it's a story if there's a second story, a lot of times the roof will kind of hide that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
In your opinion, do you think that this covered porch is an original feature of this house?
I don't, from what we could see, let me see if I can find.
It's a little unique. You don't see covered porches like that very often, especially in that shape.
And
Yeah.
we really don't know. I mean, there's from 78, we have that there, and the windows look to be, to be tracking what other things you see there. But when you look at the Sanborn map, you see a little projection there, but it's hard to know to what extent that is, the same as what it is there. The location's the same. There was some sort of center projection. I couldn't say that was the exact same. Kind of get in there and see what the studs look like or that sort.
Sure.
A question related to that. On the Sanborn maps, the little front feature dash line, which a porch. So it may have been an open porch, not an enclosed porch. That may have been
But I think
modification. Because they use the solid line around the living, the enclosed, the solid wall enclosed space. So it well have been just a small porch closed with the windows. And thought I'd throw that in there.
Mhm. Other questions?
And can you remind us what the period of significance for this?
1878 to 1938.
And this house was built in 1930.
Oh, I think they said roughly. They on the notice said C 1925, but I don't think, I haven't seen anything that had an exact date. It was before 27 for sure because of this.
what I was getting at is I'm wondering if the porch isn't original feature, was it added in the period of significance? I don't know if we can answer that question, but kind of question. I have one more.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I also wanted to talk a little bit about the, you talked a bit about the context of like raising foundations when it comes to like areas that have a lot of like water that they have to deal with. Do we see a lot of foundation raising in this area? Are there other examples in the city?
I'm not as familiar with that aspect of Salem history, you know, so there may have been, I've seen cases of relocating houses, you know, quite a bit. When I've driven around and been in the neighborhoods, I don't see a whole lot of things that would indicate they've raised something, you know, 4 or 5. Some flood prone areas.
Did mention that the house even raised, the land that the house is on is kind of subset from the road.
Mhm.
Is that kind of how the neighbors' houses are as well? It's-
Somewhat, yeah, especially in that area, as you go farther from the creek, it starts to elevate more. I know at least the one next to it is kind of in a bowl as well. I don't know how much deep lift.
Possible to go to Street View. I don't want to make you, but that would answer the question.
Yeah, I had a similar question. When you're standing on the right of way looking at it, are you up on a same plane, essentially looking across, or are you above or below the house?
Give you an example on this property here. So this is eye line from the sidewalk on the street,
Okay,
to give you an idea of pedestrian height, a typical pedestrian. I know the one right next to it is kind of in a bowl as well.
or other questions, Commissioner Strauss?
Yeah, one more question. It seems like, so back in 2004, this house went through a pretty big update with the foundation raising. Can you talk a little bit, was there any discussion of whether this affected its contributing to the district at that point?
There was some back and forth about that overall, and I think in summary, which, you know, we have some of the original may be useful, but the summary was there was some foundation issues at the rear of the property that needed to be addressed. The raising was considered, you know, big change. One of the things that was considered kind of a unique problem is that it has these French doors, but they didn't open into anything, you know? And so the balconies were a response to having something you could literally just step out. Quite a bit more.
In the nomination for the National Register, at least at the time of the nomination, had the original blueprints. Wondering if those have been produced.
I haven't seen those.
But they're not shared. No,
What we have,
We don't have those.
yeah, in the hard copy file, which, you know, we copied out of the hard copy file, I didn't see.
can have they been lost? Have they,
Well, we can ask when
we can ask.
if the applicant's here.
It's a previous owner, and
This
if they
may-
were, if they were submitted as part of the National Register nomination, the SHPO doesn't keep them. Fortunately.
I think the blueprints that you're mentioning, that's actually for a different property. This is the only.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Are there other questions for staff?
To clarify. So ultimately, in that last decision, it was considered still contributing after the foundation was raised.
Register is still contributing.
All right, one last call. We'll get another opportunity with Jake. Okay. I will now call for the applicant's testimony, if they're here. Applicant here? All right. Come on down. If you can please state your name and address for the record. At the podium here, yeah.
For all the equipment.
Yeah, hi, please state your name and address for the record, or if are you representing the applicant, or are you, you are the applicant?
Yeah.
And then you'll have 15 minutes.
Oh, that's a long time.
It's a long time. You might not need it. You have it if you need it.
Up to.
All
All right. Well, thank you. My name's Lisa Taylor. I am the owner and live at 625 Church Street Southeast, along with my husband Andrew, who had to take our dog to an emergency vet visit. Sorry about that. I hope I'm gonna give you the right information. I feel like I'm more just gonna tell you about my house and why I like it and why I would really like to have a front porch to it. My husband and I moved in 2021. We moved in old, which I don't recommend, but it was our dream home, so we moved in. And we really love our house. When we moved in, we knew right away that the stairs and the balconies needed to be replaced. It was found in the inspection that there was a lot of dry rot. Honestly, I don't use those front steps. I just make my family and friends use them. But they definitely need replacing. And initially it was our first thing on the list, but then our HVAC froze over, and then there was a leak in our shower, and then there was a crack in our foundation. So it got pushed down, but now we're all ready to do it, and I'm very excited for us with approval and everything. Let's see. I tell you all that just mainly to share that, like, this is our house for the next 30 years. We're really committed. We're not here to like flip our house and then go sell it for some money. Like, this is where we're gonna live. So our goal really isn't to change the character of the house, but just to enhance its usability. And I really appreciate the neighborhood association's comments. I understand living in a historic district, that's why we bought the house, to, really live in one of those like beautiful. So I really just want to make sure that, we're kind of addressing some of that stuff. Though I will say the comments from the neighborhood association about the historic code and it applying, I don't know anything about that, so address that. Other than to say that, yeah, the balconies, as you heard, they're not original to the home, so we're not trying to get rid of something that was there in 1924. It just may be of interest to everybody on this commission, because I assume you're interested. The house apparently originally belonged to the church that's there, the Woodland Chapel. And so it was like the pastor's house or preacher or whatever they had. And I think my husband and I are only like the third owners of the property, because the church owned it for a really long time. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, I don't really know about the whole historic thing, but when I think of kind of that 1920s bungalow style, I sort of think of that front porch, and these craftsmen, I know they always have covered porches, and we're obviously not building a covered porch, but I really always like the idea of having that front patio and the porch that you can, have your chairs, sit out, watch the lawn and everything. And I think that's really our goal with this porch proposal, is to have that kind of front yard area. As you saw in the map, our house is way far back in the lot. Our backyard is pretty small comparatively to our front yard. So I recognize that it's a fairly large front porch area, but we're so far back, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference in terms of whether it's super big or a little bit smaller, things like that. I think what we're really trying to do is build that kind of front porch area, which I really like the idea of front porches, right? Like in a neighborhood, like it gets people out into the front area. It kind of builds a sense of like community and safety, seeing people around your neighborhood. I always have liked that idea. So, and then, we can't unlift our house. It's up there. But we really want to make it more historic. Like I want to make sure you guys know, we're thinking about the historic nature of this. I don't think that those Juliet balconies look historic to the like house. I've always thought they were like a little off. I love that central sunroom. I mean, I think that's the first thing everybody sees, obviously, when you see our house is that cool little sunroom. And you know, I want to make sure that our house continues to look interesting and nice and appropriate to the period. Just generally, so you're aware, the current balconies are really unusable. I mean, not only are they like unsafe because they're rotting out, but they're unusable because they're only 4 feet deep. You need 3 feet to have like an appropriate walkway of any sort. I mean, it should really be 4 feet for ADA. So like with our current balconies, you can go and stand on them and it's very nice. It's a nice yard and everything, but like you can't do anything. We can't really put a chair out there or like have love to have a little bistro set and have coffee out there or whatever in the morning. You really can't do that. So when we started thinking about how we were going to replace it, you know, our first thing was improving the stairs, making them wider, making them safer, getting a railing, things going like that. But our second thought was like, are we just going to replace the balconies or are we going to try and make this more usable? And our goal really was to make that more usable. So we could, you know, put some chairs out on our balcony or on our porch, like go out there, have dinner in the summer, you know, watch our kids over at Pringle when they're a little bit older from our balcony. Like, I think that's a very nice little idea. And so that's really where we got it being a larger thing. It's also really important to us that they be connected. Right now, you would have to open one French door, go out, enjoy that patio, then you can come back in and go around the house and go out to the other one. It's like, it's not super convenient. And not that this would matter for the historic thing, but the inside of the house is a circle. You can go around all the rooms in a circle. And by connecting the decks, it'll kind of make like a figure 8. So you can go around the whole deck on the outside. And I think that adds to the symmetry of the home from the outside, kind of bringing it inside. And I don't think anybody else cares than me about that. So yeah, that's kind of addressing why the size is not just replacing the current balconies. Also wanted to make a note of the neighborhood associations concerned about the creation of a carport by making the patio go out that far. First of all, the patio is not going out a car's length. The car's like 14 feet and it's going out 12 feet. But also you would be double parked to the actual garage all the time, and that wouldn't make any sense to do that. So I don't know why anyone would do that. Also, we're a 1-car household and don't plan on getting another car. So yeah. So I guess that's kind of my conclusion.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this house. Obviously, this is where we're going to stay forever. And front porch would improve it. And I also wanted to mention, I think it'll actually make it better. You know, again, it's raised. It's kind of weird it's raised, right? I don't think any of us are like, oh yeah, that looks great. It's just cement and then there's a house. If we have the porch, I was thinking of like putting trestles or something under the porch, or maybe a roadie that'll grow bigger so it'll hide more of the foundation. And so when you're looking at it from the street and you kind of look right out of it, your eye would just kind of be drawn to the house instead of just like being like, why is it on stilts there? That's weird. So I've thought this through and I really appreciate you guys hearing this, and we'll definitely paint it. I'm not sure why it said we might paint it. We're definitely painting it. We're going to paint it with the house. I appreciate the suggestions, and those will all be taken into, we'll do those things. And
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Stay up here, because we
Okay.
have some questions for you. It sounds like you've discovered the joys of owning an older historic home. I think many of us do. I do myself, so I empathize, sympathize and empathize. But are there any questions though for Lisa? Yes.
Can Can you, is that porch, actually like a covered porch? Or, so you have like a front door behind the front porch door?
Yeah, so it has, so yeah, it's an enclosed porch. We call it a sunroom, but yeah, so there's a front door that has a cute little mail slot. And then you go in there, it doesn't have any like electricity or heating or anything, and you can actually see the siding of the house in that room, and then your front door is there.
That give you the sense that maybe that porch was added on at a later time?
I really don't know. The porch does have a weird like flooring, which like it's like little pebbles, which it seems odd to me. The windows are definitely very rickety, so they're old. I don't think that's helpful. I really couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm curious on your impression on that. Do you have any concerns about the conditions that have been proposed by staff?
Painting and keeping the balusters the same? No,
Yeah,
I think that
matching the
makes-
design.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense and leave that.
Are there any other questions? Yeah. Okay,
So you're gonna have to redo the stairs, and the stairs will be landing at a different spot in your yard.
That would probably be a question for the designer.
Okay.
But they'll be, I mean, they're going down the same place and we kind of have a cement pavement where they land now. And then there's like 5 additional cement steps to get down to the driveway. So I would assume they would probably go out slightly farther, but also they'll be shorter because the deck will go out farther, so they might cancel each other out.
and he's coming up next, I believe,
Oh,
so.
okay.
I will save that, I will save that question.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Yeah, thank you very much for coming, because not everyone always does, and we always appreciate when the applicant does, so.
Well, thank you for being on board. I know you're probably all volunteers and it probably takes a lot of time, so I really appreciate it.
Okay, I'm gonna call Brian Judd.
Yes, hi, thank you.
Same rules, please state your name and address or business address for the record.
Brian Judd.
Oh, I'm sorry. You have 7 minutes, you get half the time. Remaining time, 7 minutes. Thank you.
I'll keep it brief. Brian Judd, 3175 Nikia Street, Woodburn, Oregon. Here representing On Point as a contractor for this application. I'd like to say, first of all, perfect customers for this kind of project from the onset at our first consultation with them. Their concerns are exactly what had been expressed by the community as well as this board. They wanted to maintain the materials and the style. Really easy to build the same porch, but it's going to be exactly to code, but it's going to be all completely cedar. It's all going to be completely painted white to match the house. I think with the size concern, if you look at the overhead and you see how far, I think it's about 6 foot 6 inches, the existing portico or the hexagonal little portico there. It comes out about 6.5 feet. If we were able to get that up to about 12, that allows us about 4.5 feet from the onset of the portico to the first set of railing so I feel like they were somewhat modest. I mean, it is quite a bit bigger than the existing 3 porches combined. But really that was as far as they functionally need to be able to access all 3 porches. I did have a couple of questions and that even came up to me looking at it. I do think the windows on that little portico kind of match the French windows in their style and design. So that leads me to think it might have been original because otherwise somebody really put a lot of craftsmanship into matching those hip ridges to the house. They did a great job. It was added. And then it also posed a question that I still don't know the answer to was, did those French doors ever have ingress, egress? And I don't think we have the pictures to substantiate if that really ever was a fact. I would assume the French doors might have had, I don't know what else they would open into. Kind of unanswered question there, just I wish I had more historical context for what was there before. Doors there that it was intentionally lower. I would love to have seen what was there before. I think part of me thinks there was probably a connecting porch. Maybe that portico was added and it had a small porch that handled both those doors. But again, being at ground level, did they even need a porch? Did they just have some stairs? Doesn't really sit with a normal bungalow layout. In contemporary styles, you don't see a lot of that as far as, my opinion. So size-wise, I think they've done the bare minimum to keep it functioning. They've been committed to the historic preservation and respecting the decisions and understood we'd be going through this process. And I jumped on and said, let's do it. Let's see what we can get done for you folks. The only other two conditions I saw in there, absolutely, they've already got a contractor to come paint the entire thing after completion. And the entire porch is going to be Port Orford cedar deck boards, Port Orford cedar balusters, and Port Orford cedar handrails in between cedar posts. So it's literally 100% going to be painted white to match the house. With that, I'd happy to answer any questions you guys might have.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? All right.
Can you talk about what design considerations you've put into this to match the bungalow style?
So we traditionally offer a standard cedar baluster railing setup that is just pretty common design established just to match existing in most older homes that have the cedar is that same style. So it's one of our regular items that we offer. However, it happens to exactly match what I was able to discern the materials were when we went there and looked at the original porch. Even the ones that were added, they did match the same materials and style.
And when you say original porch, are you talking about the ones that were added on after the raising?
Yeah, I don't know the true original porch, but the existing porches that were added on, right? I just really wish I had more information as to the decision as to allow those porches there if there wasn't some sort of egress before. So this doesn't really sound like we have a blueprint that kind of look at before it was raised.
So this design is matching the existing, but not necessarily like bungalow.
It would be, if those other ones were in perfect shape, we could probably build right off them and connect the two. I mean, it's the exact same footprint with the extension outward to allow crossing in front of the extended portico that's almost 7 feet from the face. I think under my calculations, we are going to only gain maybe 1 step forward from the existing steps. So the landing, to answer the earlier question, should be 18 inches of its current landing, which what there is room for. And then there are another down below, there's concrete steps up to the landing that's paved and concreted in. We'll still be able to fall within the same area. So it won't extend the actual steps much to support.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm gonna move on to neighborhood association representatives. Is there anyone here representing the neighborhood association? All right. Come on down. Please state your name, address for the record, and you have, your testimony is limited to 10 minutes.
Thank you. I hope not to take that long. Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. I'm Evan West. I am the chair of the South Central Association of Neighbors, which you may have heard referred to as SCAN. Our neighborhood association, I'm sorry, I live in Ward 7, but again, I chair all of SCAN, which includes Ward 7, parts of Ward 7 and Ward 2, where this residence is located. Our neighborhood association proudly stewards the Gaiety Hill Bush's Pasture Historic Park Residential Historic District. And we take time to carefully review all design cases in order to prevent the piecemeal degradation of its character and integrity. Bear with me, my testimony may go a different direction than you expect first. Regarding the case being heard tonight for 625 Church Street Southeast, our written submission was clear. There is no code criteria cited that would allow for the creation of a new and large deck that would fundamentally alter the primary facade of the contributing resource. It would be a prudent, professional, and legal course of action for this commission to deny the application based on non-compliance with the identified guidelines in SRC 30. As proposed, the project does not minimize the effect of the contributing resource. To the contrary, the proposed addition would encroach 12 feet into the historic front yard and setback, and would add approximately 400 square feet more decking to the existing structure. By these effects alone, it's clear to us that the project is not in compliance with multiple aspects of SRC 230.065. However, for every bit as much as it is our desire to perfectly preserve the character and integrity of the historic district, we actually prefer a place of living history where our neighbors feel welcomed, comfortable, and in control of their property. In recognition of the likelihood that this commission supports similar endeavors, we recommend a compromise that includes the conditions recommended by the staff report. The width of the deck could be reduced by nearly half in some places and still result in a usable space running the length of the residence. We would ask this commission to consider requiring the submission of an alternative proposal, reducing the total scale of new construction to better match the character of the historic resource and the surrounding historic district. As a reminder, historic districts are unified by plan or aesthetic. This evening, we've heard the term contributing thrown around quite freely. We should not forget what the resource is contributing to. When you stand on Church Street and look to the west, the row of 3 residences is the last unobstructed view shed at that location. If you turn around and look to the east, the view shed has been completely compromised and doesn't exist anymore. The resource is not just the resource itself, it contributes to the historic setting of those 3 residences in that location. Regardless of any other action, decking should be immediately painted to match existing structural features. We also request setting appropriate vegetation be required to be planted to disguise the intrusive scale of the stringers, footings, and other construction inherent to the project. We recommend camellia, rhododendron, azalea, boxwood, or other vegetation present in the Gady Hill neighborhood. Unfortunately, this would only serve to disguise one side as the garage becomes the default carport. That's the last of our notes about the process itself. I would like to request that the record and comment period be held open for the maximum allowable timeline. On behalf of our dedicated and professional committee, I'm here tonight to ask the commission to require a proposal that better addresses the unifying aesthetics of the physical development of the historic district. Thank you for your time. I'm available to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, Commissioner England.
In terms of reduction in size of the deck, what kind of reduction have you discussed?
Great question. It's difficult because when you're talking about what allows for a connection between both sides for both modern code and just common walkability, that does get difficult. On either side, the total depth could be reduced and still allow usage on either side of the center sunroom space. And to do that would be important still because it's the encroachment into the historic setback. That's part of what's historic about this specific resource is the distance from Church Street that was by design to create a sense of sort of, it's not a real term, but minimal elegance. It's a fancy garden of sorts that you can see from Church Street, but it's not, at the same time, it's not a mansion, it's not Versailles, it's just what was locally elegant at the time. And the more we encroach into the space that was that historic landscape, the more we damage that same historic view shed I was just talking about. So if you were to even reduce the amount of space that the decking would protrude, I mean, it would mitigate the impact to the resource that way.
Other questions?
I'm gonna press on you a little bit here. So what specifically is the neighborhood association looking for a porch depth? Need something specific. Because
Right, so
that we operate off standards and guidelines, not thoughts and suggestions.
well, yeah, right, exactly. So the total proposed, if I'm not mistaken, is 12 feet depth. Building on an existing 4-foot depth. I would recommend meeting in the middle and doing a 6-foot depth on either side. And that serves SRC 230 and the requirements to minimize effects to the contributing resource. It is still an effect. It is still an adverse effect, in fact, I would suggest, but it is minimized and meeting a middle ground of usability, preserving the historic district.
So to clarify, you would want it 6 feet on either side and then projected out
You would have to do whatever was
to go around, because I mean, it's really a minimum clearance
right.
as it's designed,
You would have
right?
to do whatever was mechanically possible in order to make a connection in the
Right.
center section.
And in terms of livability, you can't have 2 separate front porches with people waving and that won't work, it's gotta be connected somehow. So that would be something that goes and just kind of follows the line of the
existing wall structure, what has been referred to as a sun porch.
but that would greatly reduce.
Possible.
Go ahead.
Or-
I would like to point out that minimum width for a porch or a deck to have seating and then passage around it is 6 feet. That's kind of a building standard and speak from experience, that's like a minimum dimension. And they have found that the 4-foot wide balcony or, very narrow decks have not been usable for sitting because you can't.
And we can get into some of that during our deliberations. Thank you. Other questions? There is no ingress or egress, is what I.
They swing
understand.
inward.
They would have to swing in because.
Yeah,
Didn't
but
you
we
say
can,
they swing inward?
hold on, we can ask the applicant when they come back.
They open inward.
I do have a question. Did the neighborhood association or it might be a question, I'll propose it to you, I'll propose it to the applicant. Did you approach the applicant, neighborhood association? Was there conversations, discussions?
Not to my knowledge, although it's a somewhat unique situation in that the Gady Hill neighborhood is so small, so few actual residences that from my perspective, which is a step removed at least, I usually assume that by the time there's something happening in the Gady Hill neighborhood, the neighbors who by and large make up the majority of our historic preservation committee have discussed it and are at least in majority agreements. I don't know specifically whether there was discussion in this case, and I'll use this as an opportunity just to plug for anyone who's listening, the reason why you should tune into your neighborhood association. But I don't know specifically.
All right, last call for questions. Okay, thank you very much. So now I'll call names from the sign-up sheet here. And forgive me, I'm trying to read handwriting. So I think I've got David Holmes. Like to come up?
No.
Oh, okay, all right. And then Evan West, which we're already representing. Yep, neighborhood, okay. Is there anyone else in the audience that didn't sign up that wants to testify? Okay. I will call for the applicant's rebuttal. Would you like to rebut the testimony? I think you should come up because I have at least one question for you. I'll pose the same question. Was there any engagement with the neighborhood association?
Yeah, I think your description of Gady Hill accurate. Our neighbor Carlene came by and she's on the historic committee, I believe. And she walked around with my husband. He kind of talked about the design and everything. The impression that I got from my husband was that they were going to recommend going forward. Obviously, it go that way, which is totally fine. But yeah, that's the thing. And then we were going to go to the neighborhood association, but we had a childcare issue, so we didn't make it.
What do you think of the idea of the 6-foot?
Yeah, I've thought about a lot of different ways you can reduce the size of the porch. Right, I think the main thing with the house is the symmetry of the house, even though the garage kind of throws that off, but like the top half of the house is very symmetrical. And with the 6-foot, right, the porch has two sides and then diagonal and then the front. And so right now the balconies stop at the two sides. And then the diagonal windows don't have anything in front of them. And then obviously there's the front, the door and the steps. So in order to maintain that symmetry, it would be weird, right, for the porch to go like halfway through those diagonal sides. So I think like the only alternative really to maybe make it a little bit smaller would be like you could reduce the landing, but I think the porches need to go at least out so they're parallel with those angled walls, if that made any sense. So like these walls right here, I feel like the porch would have to go out at least to the end of angled walls, because otherwise you'd have a porch like stopping partway through. And then I guess you could maybe make like a slightly angled walkway. Like, I don't know how you would, it would be such an odd shape. I'm open if somebody is better at shape thoughts than I am. I just, like, okay, so it's 4 feet here, so 6 feet, and then you're like halfway there, and then you have what, a walkway? I could see bringing it up to here and then having like a of some sort that connects those two. I'm open to other ideas. I just don't know. I don't want the porch to be a like wonky shape.
Sounds like you're open to, I mean, I'm even thinking
Suggestions
like
or ideas.
square porch even, maybe it was clipped. sort of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah, and I thought
that
about like
shape.
rounding, because I mean, you have the roundness of the kind of. But I don't really know how many round,
Yeah, right.
right, we're hiring that guy.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
So-
Yeah. And he can come up too if he needs to, but, question, let's go to Commissioner Cornetti.
Have you considered lighting underneath that 12-foot deep portion garage door is?
Yeah, we haven't right now. I could see that being useful. Also I've generally thought about like Gobi lights to like do some uplighting. We have some and it's not a great indication, but we do have color changing lights that we keep up there because you can do some cool down lighting.
And my other question is, what, and I don't know if I can ask this or not, I'm new to the commission, but what's the function on the inside of the building on either side or of the house?
Yeah, so it's a big main room. So over here is your living room and then this is your dining room. When you guys were talking about the egress and things, I kind of wondered, you can almost see on the ground here, like, I've always thought maybe there was a pony wall or something because there's like slight discoloration in the floor, but I wonder if there was actually like a room or something. Again, I don't have any.
Path along that front wall that connects to
Oh, yeah,
the
this is-
interior?
It's all one big room in the interior for the first half of the house, and then the second half has segmented rooms.
Understanding that you would like it to connect all the way across, would it be one side just over the garage portion?
It would be possible, but I think that would really mess up the symmetry. Part of what kind of makes.
Symmetrically losing much off this 12-foot projection. Yeah, I mean, they could potentially, do a little bit smaller and bevel it out, but we're gonna be constrained by the minimum distance to travel there, ascertain this earlier. We don't have too much room to limit. We could come in, but, if we did it to 6 feet, this would be a big beveled portion out over the driveway as well. This would have to be beveled to allow at least 4 feet in between to get to 6. 6 would definitely be I don't know, the professional term for it. But yeah, there is a possibility of maybe doing a clip on it, but adds quite a bit of extra to it.
You have to cross that chasm there of the
Yeah.
driveway.
Yeah, that's why we're just taking the continuity of the whole one, and that's why they didn't say, hey, we want this to poke out 12 feet from the house. This is, we want to recapture all this. They really said, hey, well, how far would we need to come out to tie these all in? And that's why we came up with the 12-foot projection to allow, 5.5 feet here. Down to a 10-foot would be 3.5.
Got a couple more questions.
Please.
Yeah, so in order to keep that continuity and then also stay within ADA compliance and code, essentially the deck would be 1.5 feet less than what it's proposed for right now. If the 6.5 feet there, and then it just be, you have to have 4 feet between there and the steps. So it's like 1.5 feet, that is really all we could really play with.
Possibly gain just to corners off, honestly.
Question, go to Commissioner Logan.
I have a question. Have you approached the State Historic Preservation Office about the nomination and how it describes your house since it hasn't been updated to include how it's current?
I haven't looked at anything about the state historic. The only thing, the description that I heard earlier about the gabled roof, that's only.
Question on the like view, because it's kind of set down, right? Which is why it was raised up originally. So if you're standing on the street and looking straight at the house, will the deck be raised above the street level or will be kind of even?
My perspective, my eye level is about, when I'm on the street, about the 6-foot elevation pairs up roughly with the surface of the decks.
So it would look kind of
Sidewalk's
flat.
kind of up higher. It does dip down and come back up. So when we're out on the street, I'm right in probably this range 6, so maybe a foot or so less.
So it would look kind of flat if you were looking at it from the street. Flat to your eye level. And sorry, that one clarification on the doors, they do open in.
Yeah, they open into the house.
And do you get the sense that, so I'm looking at the original photos of this house and the doors are kind of high up off the ground. And so I'm wondering if you have a sense if there used to be steps there or if the hardware and the doors was added in.
The doors to me look, they're definitely not a repeat door.
The doors you don't think are original?
Well, I don't know if there were originally doors there, but
Oh,
the
I
doors
see.
that are currently there are newer doors. I would say they're not like super new, but they're probably like done in the 2000s when they raised the house.
They made out of wood.
The wood frame.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you again, very much. Are there, or do any commissioners have additional questions for staff?
I do.
Okay. Probably.
Jacob Morris.
My question is, there's a lot of comments about how this house is so far back, but on the GLO, on the Sanborn, it looked like the other houses were set back further than that house. So they moved it back more? Yeah.
Neighbor's house is further back,
I
right?
didn't move it back, but overall that all of those properties have
As if it was a unique thing or like it stood out that how far back, like it was something so extreme compared to the other properties, but actually it's the most forward set.
Right, I didn't mean to indicate really setback just in that area compared to the rest of.
There's quite a bit of vegetation between the road and the neighboring houses. And then this one, there's not as much, so it's a bit more visible from the road compared to the other neighbors. That contributes to view that this house is so far back. Wasn't just you that said it, so I was just wanting to look at that Sanborn again, because I thought, yeah, it was like, the other houses are set back further. I'll set that.
Other questions?
Thank you for clarifying.
Jake, could you talk about, for the neighborhood association, the difference between approving under the standards versus the guidelines?
So the standards, say this property, just as an example, had, say those Juliet balconies were a historic material. So they put them in 1937, for example, within the period of significance, or at least 50 years ago, right? You know, those kind of argue in between. Then you would be talking about, you could use the specific standards because you're talking about how much you're moving away from something that is existing there and is historic, what we call historic fabric or historic materials. And the standards, they're a little more prescriptive, so they make it a lot easier to say, okay, this is an up or a down, a yes or a no, according to the standards. When you have this one-off properties like this one, where we've got a lot of changes going on and we don't have a good chronology of construction to know exactly what was there when. General guidelines, which are they're roughly equivalent mostly to what the Secretary of the Interior standards would be with some changes, but they generally kind of fit those things. So when you go through those can apply to, you know, anything from this property to, you know, a lot of different property types, but it allows you to implement those same principles when you may not have on the ground something that's easy to predict.
Yeah, and generally, when you're approving via standards, it's often a staff decision and guidelines decision that usually comes.
Right, and you know, in a case where staff would be using a lot of their own judgment or introducing maybe their own biases or opinions, it's
I appreciate having that on the record.
Yeah, and kind of along the same line, could you speak to what the neighborhood association noted that it says it does not contain a reference to applicable standards and is insufficient, the notice that was provided. Could you speak to that specifically?
I don't know exactly where that was coming from. It may have been.
They said the notice they received and did not contain a reference to the applicable
And it may have been
standards.
too vague in their minds.
Yeah, because I think on the notice that we post like what we will be evaluating.
This case is the guidelines.
The
not
guidelines, it would be
standards, yeah.
guidelines, right? So
The guidelines are the applicable
that's what
criteria.
I was curious where the neighborhood association cited this SLC 230.025 when we're not evaluating under that at all.
Right.
So I'm not sure why they're referencing that specifically.
The thing that I would need to do moving very clear and much specificity as we can.
I'm concerned about the cumulative impact of these changes. We've had what appears to be the enclosure of the front porch, probably within the period of significance or within more than 50 years ago. There may have been an open deck or terrace that flanked that open porch originally, which would by having those French doors that opened out onto it. Therefore, you would have, you know, if you walked up the steps to this, you'd have a covered porch with a couple of open wings, which then you could circulate around the whole thing. It would be like a porch across the front of the building, but 2/3 of it has no roof. It's just an open terrace. So we've got that change. Then we've got the elevation of the house, and now and then the decks that were added 2004. So this would be another alteration. So we will have on this house a sequence of alterations which do have a cumulative effect on the appearance and on the primary facade of the house. So is that something that we should consider in this evaluation?
To somewhat of an extent, one thing that we wouldn't want it to consider is the fact that it was previously raised, because that wasn't a proposal that was up on the ground as a property with pretty significant alterations. It's arguable, one reason why I brought that context was, one is to show that during a certain period, but, or that guidance was put in place by the Park Service when they dealt with raised properties. It was, every one of them was one-off. It was like, okay, is this still contributing? It's very touch and go.
Yeah.
That guidance gave a little more flexibility into having a defensible rationale for what they were looking at. And one thing you see on the case studies is they're leaning on the other things harder because that's what's remaining. I would caution against, giving, penalizing a current project because of a lot of accumulated past alterations.
Well, this one also has, it's the residence that's closest to the Pringle Creek waterway or the park here. And if there's flooding in that zone, then this is the house that's most likely to floodwaters in it. So I can see that there probably was a real need to get that elevation.
I'm gonna move us along a little bit, because we can get into some of this with deliberations. So,
Okay.
Are there, you have
I-
another question for?
Yeah,
Jane?
the other thing I wanted to ask about is the terminology that's been used in the reports and in the descriptions. I just want to make clear that this is a deck that's being proposed, not a porch. Because a porch is a covered outdoor space, and a deck is one that is not covered. It's either a terrace or a patio or a deck, but if it's got no roof, it's not a porch. So I just want to make clear that this application is not adding a porch to this. Adding a deck.
One last question?
One last
All right.
question. Could you tell us a little bit about what it might look like if this house were to go through an evaluation on whether it's still contributing to the district or not? Like, how does that process work, or when would that happen?
That's something we would work with the historic preservation on. But one thing that can be captured in is we're currently doing a update survey, right? A historic resources survey for all of Scan. Doesn't hit every single property, but in that context, it would that information updated, at least current information to work off. The Historic Preservation Office to do an amendment.
And are non-contributing houses in a district eligible for toolbox grants?
Very good, sorry, if they're gonna propose restoring a contributing feature.
Right, we good? Okay, you'll have to refresh my memory. Do we need a vote to close the hearing?
Oh, but you did have a request.
For the record to remain open?
So you have an option that you can. Would allow, if there's any visions, the proposal or discussions between the applicant and the neighborhood or anything like that. Close the hearing and leave the record open for 3 weeks for additional testimony, 3-week period. Deliberate on the 21st. So do we have to do one or the other. We have to vote on that? Or do we just, can we have it, the commission can talk about that and then we vote on which one we want to do? But there would be like a motion to do it. So is there any motion, or I'll entertain a motion? So we have the option of, what's the word? Continuing the hearing. Thank you. Continuing the hearing to our next meeting next month. And that would allow that the record would remain open. New findings can be delivered. We can consider those things later. Or our other option is that we close the public hearing, but leave the written record open. So new written submissions, and that would include if there is an altered proposal or something like that could come through. Or we can close it. Well, we have to leave the record open, so we can't actually deliberate tonight regardless. Yes. Of that. So I'll entertain a motion for one of those two approaches.
I'll move to leave the record open.
Okay. Is there a second? This would be leaving the written record open, so we will not deliberate tonight. We would deliberate at the next meeting. And we can consider whatever new findings are submitted through the record at that time. But we're closing the hearing.
I second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second. So is everybody clear?
No.
Written only.
So it would be a 7-day period for anybody to submit new testimony, 7 days for anybody to rebut just that testimony. And then the applicant would get the final 7 days for their final written statement about how they. Questions of the applicant, no testimony. You could ask questions of staff. And they could already in the record. They could. The information.
The applicant, like theoretically, and I'm not saying this is gonna happen, but theoretically, the applicant could like revise their proposal and submit it into the record, and then we could consider that at the deliberations at the next meeting. But we couldn't talk to them about it. We would just have to, we could ask questions of staff, but not of the applicant. I have a motion and a second to leave the record open. So what we can do is take a vote and see how people feel, see where we end up. That motion ends up failing, we can try again. But we have to vote on this since we have a
Yeah.
motion and a
Can we
second.
discuss it before?
Yeah,
we
I was
vote?
gonna say, can you discuss? the motion?
We definitely, so I have a motion and a second to do what we just described. Is there discussion?
I know that I made the motion, but I actually think now that we're talking about it more, I'd like to be able to talk to the applicant again. If we have to wait till next meeting anyway, then I think it would be ask
Sure.
questions if there's changes or if they want to talk to the neighborhood association. I don't think it'll change our process very much, so we might as well.
Other discussion? Okay, so I'm gonna just reiterate, because we're gonna take a vote here. A yes vote means that we'll leave just the written record open, just have deliberations at the next meeting. A no vote will deny the motion, and then we will have some other motion proposed for the public hearing.
The other motion
is that-
actually be.
We will have to figure that out. We'll get there.
You only have 2 choices under state law.
So we would
Because
do
it
under,
was
so we'd go to the
requested.
other choice. So.
The first hearing under state law, you either have to
So
continue
if you-
it or leave the record open.
So if you wanna do the other thing, you have to vote no. On that, so, okay,
And to get that, you're saying.
we'd have to deny the
revise
current
to
motion,
Vote no, so that we can have a conversation.
correct? Yes, so
But that's if we want to continue it.
that, yeah, so if you vote yes, it means that we do deliberations at the next meeting. We cannot talk with the applicant or any other person besides staff. Vote no on this motion, then we essentially continue the public hearing. We could continue having conversations with the applicant, others, staff.
But either way, we can't deliberate
Correct.
approve it.
That's
tonight.
correct. Yes, because the neighborhood association requested the record to remain open and we have to honor that request.
I see.
Okay. We're gonna take a vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Okay, I need a show of hands. 1, 2, 3. All those in favor say no.
No.
Show your hands. Okay, motion is denied. I will now entertain a motion. And this would be to continue the public hearing to our next meeting.
Need the public hearing to our next meeting.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to continue the public hearing. So this would be to allow people to introduce new finding, new evidence that we can consider, and then we would have our deliberations at that meeting. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, motion passes. So we will, like I said, we'll continue the public hearing to May. You'll have to come back, Lisa. But it provides you maybe some opportunity to talk with neighborhood association staff as well. Yeah. Thank you. And I'm gonna look at for that I got everything that I needed to do with this.
I can state the dates out loud if that's helpful.
Yeah,
just
yeah.
For the public.
Yeah.
So the first period will be on the 23rd, so 7 days from today at 5 p.m. The record, no.
No, we did
we're
the
not doing-
continue.
We did the continuance.
Get all the dates for Matthew.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I just did it.
May 21st, I guess. Come back on May 21st. That's what we want to say. Oh,
Yes.
Library, no.
Yeah.
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 I understand.
So this we have a renotice.
Are they?
Oh, for a new location.
Well, it's in here. It says it.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
The agenda.
We don't
says-
normally renotice for continued hearing.
For continuance now.
Oh, would we need to get hearing? We're gonna be in hearing.
Oh, well, I guess you're not gonna be at the committee meeting now. That's fine. Are you trying to share?
I'm gonna move us along
Yeah.
to, we have no special orders of business, information reports. We've got discussion items and
Right there.
training.
We're trying.
Yeah, no.
Set that up while he's doing that. I appreciate it, Jake. So
It's
this
really awesome
one,
with the
so
Thursday.
just to remind you, every month I'm gonna do a little bit of training. This one, nobody has any fun parts, and I'm not gonna actually do a fake hearing. This one is just gonna be a straight up presentation. And I'm gonna give you just a key bit of criteria for you guys to debate. So this is a building that isn't here anymore.
Sorry, I'm really sorry. Can I interrupt just for a
For sure.
minute?
Yes.
Since we're, for people who are new, since we have a continued public hearing, all of our conflicts of interest and ex parte communication still apply.
Thank you, though.
I should have announced that prior to Commissioner Ingman leaving.
And don't talk to each other.
So don't talk to each other, don't talk to other people.
Or the neighbor, yeah.
It's don't talk to neighborhood association, don't talk to the applicant.
You
can
can
only
talk
talk
to
to staff.
staff.
Talk to staff. Yes, only.
When I make that thing go away.
I'm gonna, yeah, and then we need to note that Commissioner Ingman left at
Mind, I am literally.
7 o'clock? No. Yeah, about 7 o'clock. Michelle, could you make a note that Commissioner Ingman left about 7 o'clock?
Yes.
She's gonna go sing. Can I put it? I don't know where to put. Sorry, you guys. It's just super annoying.
Goes away.
Oh, you did it. Oh, I did. And do I need to use this microphone or no? Okay, so everybody ready? Need a snack? It's fine. You wanna go?
Yep.
Eat all this?
We're good. Let's do it.
Okay, so again, this is a training. I'm just doing a presentation tonight, but I'm going to end with a question that you get to debate amongst yourselves. And I think when I was sharing with Kirsten and Farah about how I was gonna do this, she was all worried that we were gonna have a demolition coming our way. We are not. But the goal of the training is for you to kind of get your feet wet in all of this before you actually have to have a case to consider, right? So Because I know it's hard to wrap your arms around all of our code. I think now it's the second longest. I think for a while it was the longest in the state. I don't know, I gotta rewrite some and add some, so I can,
Wait, who's longer now?
Portland.
Oh,
Mm,
yeah.
It's always Portland, isn't it?
I was gonna say challenge accepted, but never mind.
If you don't wanna,
No.
I have a dumb question. How do I make it go forward? Why?
Just click on it. One
No,
click
I
in
was
the middle.
clicking on it. Oh, I'm sorry. That, am I
Got it.
you're being recorded? I'm being recorded.
That is being recorded.
I apologize. everyone. Okay, so I don't know, for those of you that are new to Salem, you may not remember this building. For those of you that have been here a while, maybe you do remember it. So was the Marion Car Park, and this was a question I got a lot. It's at the edge of our district on the southwest edge, or it was rather. And it is currently where the Holman Hotel is now. Here's a map, aerial view showing where the building once was within the boundaries of our historic district, which is downtown. So the history of this site is pretty interesting. So this was the site of the original Holman building. And if you're really into it, you can go, I think it's still there. There's a little interpretive panel inside the convention center there in the stairwell that talks about the history. Virginia Green, I think, put that together. This is where the legislature met, one of the buildings where the legislature met while the second state capitol was being built. And what's significant, or what was significant about this building is that it was the very first downtown parking structure. And it was originally constructed as part of the Marion Hotel, and it was really modern for its time. You can see local businessmen on the roof there. They landed a helicopter on the top. And at the time, it was called the Marion Car Rental and Park, and it had, you know, the gentleman in the little white coats who would come out and like give you gas and park your car. It was very fancy for its time.
It was designed by Pietro Beluschi.
That's right.
Oh, right, I forgot to say that, Pietro Beluschi. Oh, thank you.
Is that like the first car park in Oregon or something?
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah, I in Salem for sure. I don't know about the Valley, but yeah. And I think that, like, I can't remember, I'd have to relook at it, but the comprehensive planning that was being done at the city in the 50s, 60s, I can't remember now off the top of my head, the first year. Lisa, do you remember the first comp plan? Anyway, it talked all about parking.
Yeah,
Everyone was all excited about parking. Yeah. Anyway, and so this also, the construction date was 1950, so it was the bookend for the period of significance for the district. Which brings up interesting questions, which we really won't go into now if it's gone. Shh. Yeah. So I'm just gonna talk through some of the enforcement issues that the city began having to experience and deal with. Our compliance officers from neighborhood enhancement were trying to gain voluntary compliance with the owner at the time. I'm going to show you some pictures of some of these enforcement issues. So this one was actually taken in 2012. And I don't know if you would want to park up there. You can see that railing. The pictures on the right hand of your screen. It wasn't exactly safe. And then there were multiple uses happening there on the site that weren't technically allowed or permitted that they were trying to deal with. These are just a few more pictures to give you a sense. This is the inside. Yeah, lots of crazy stuff happening on the interior. And at the time, in addition to life safety issues, the use issues were really related to hazardous materials being stored on the interior together with people sleeping there. So part of the building was being used by a church who allowed homeless folks who needed to have a place to sleep inside. They were being allowed to sleep in there. So there were really big concerns about safety. Just more pictures of what that looked like. Okay, so see, I went really fast. So this, so the criteria that we have, I'm not gonna go through all the criteria. I'm just gonna present to you one criteria from 230, section, I don't remember the section. That's terrible because we changed it. I was gonna, anyway, doesn't matter. What would you decide? So do you think that the building is still a historic contributing resource to the district? You know, we had an interesting discussion earlier about alteration. So this really gets at the heart of the difference between condition and integrity, right? So that's the first question. But then the bigger question, which I would present to you, this is one of the design proposals that was proposed prior to the Holman building going through design review. If you were brought this and the existing historic structure was there, what would you decide regarding the criteria for demolition, which states the proposed use must be of a higher benefit to the community than the existing resource? Questions before you? It's, oh, let's say it's housing, right? A big need for housing in the community. Yeah.
I was just about to ask, like, do we ever get into issues where it's like we need to define what benefit is and what the community
Yes,
is?
that's what you're supposed to be talking about. Exactly. That's why I'm doing this training now, because we are going to be updating our code and improving, clarifying our definitions.
Yeah.
I'll be coming back later with that, but this is a good opportunity for you to just talk about it amongst yourselves.
And I'm gonna hold off on answering because I'm pretty sure I was part of the review.
Yeah.
At the time. So,
Well, I want them to keep
Yeah.
it up. Yes.
yeah, I think this came around to the commission in like
Oh, were you on?
2015. Yeah, or 2016.
Did review this, but it was in a previous at HLC.
So I'm gonna refrain for a moment because I'm curious what other people's thoughts.
Mm.
are.
I also have a lot of opinions about this, which I'll refrain.
Guys, don't refer, okay.
No.
I'm just curious, are,
I'm gonna get like other.
I'm actually, I've
Okay.
heard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of two in the
Yeah.
downtown district, both of which are now demolished.
So maybe you should break out your conversation and talk about, is it still contributing? Like,
Yeah, no, it's good. So the first,
Yeah.
let's take the first question. Is this building still a historic contributing resource?
This is my archaeology brain. So if I'm completely wrong, just pat me on the head and say, you tried.
So think about, so historic contribute, so does it still retain its character defining features?
I
That,
say like it's like the difference between integrity. Condition's not great, but the integrity is still there. Looks still.
no, Robert is all about this. We do it all the time.
Like correct or
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and I'll speak with as a former SHPO National Register person. But yeah, you know, the top photo there is the original photo. And bottom photo, it's got integrity. It's the same materials, it's the form, the structure, the set, I mean, all that stuff there. The condition's poor, but it does have integrity.
and integrity. What it looks like or is on the inside.
Correct, and for our purposes, and correct me if I'm wrong with the city code. Considering that,
Planning.
it's.
no,
purely
but let's pretend, and if I would have had actors, we could have Jake come up and be a really concerned citizen and be like, it's terrifying, we should get rid of it because people are gonna die.
Right.
It's a death trap.
That would be a safety issue, right?
Uh-huh.
That building.
we faced some, similar scenarios with the Oregon State Hospital. Going on.
Were you on the commission?
I was not on the commission, but I was
Uh,
in HIPPO at the time.
Oh,
That was the
yeah.
Property I was assigned to work on.
Wow.
Yeah, but that came up all the time. The J building, it's you know, death trap, people are gonna die, an earthquake. I mean, it was all the stuff, but yeah, high integrity. But yeah, condition.
go. Yeah.
It kind of begs the question of like, when do we start talking about demolition by neglect?
Good point.
You could have fixed this up to like be functional, but how much responsibility does the property owner have to do that?
Functional in current time kind of becomes challenging because parking garage anymore, or they more.
So now we get into our second question here. This is the criteria for demolition. Proposed use must be of a higher benefit to the community. So, you know, one of the options, and I do remember there were a number of options, one of which was a parking lot. I remember.
Yeah.
And I think that was the ultimate thing that actually happened. But this was one of the options. So what do you all, if presented today with this case, what are your thoughts around that second question? Okay, but you have to, you can't just be in, you don't like it.
I have a hard time
like
with the currency of benefit.
Right?
Like what?
Yep.
Benefiting, okay, to the community. It's not gonna benefit every single person in every different type of community. So are we talking about just like what government, deems is?
This is where
needed?
the discretion of the commission comes into play.
Yeah.
Is it more beneficial to have a car park that has integrity, but is in very poor condition, is probably a life saver? That there's no interest in rehabilitation? Or is there greater benefit in something like housing?
I feel like in this day and age, you can't say no to
It's difficult.
Yeah, there's
And-
no situation in
has to
which
be-
anyone would be like, no house.
And I can say, and I'm curious, staff's thoughts on this too, but housing now with the state, you have to have clear and objective standards.
I
I'm
think
curious
that's a
how,
Lisa question. Housing criteria, like if this came
Yeah,
now.
demoing this is not the criteria that applies to housing. You have to have clear and objective to the building of the
building of
housing.
the housing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But, okay, so the precedent though, before that doesn't apply, clear and objective, so you can still have this kind of, legislate, or not,
Discretionary.
Discretionary.
Very discretionary.
discretionary.
So when the
Yeah.
original proposal came in, there was already a plan for what it was gonna be.
No, so our code was different back then.
Okay.
We've since changed the code because of what happened, not only on this site, but with the pit. I call it the pit.
The pit.
280
That's what I call it.
Liberty, which was also a
Is the
Beluski
Beluski
building.
design?
And so that one was a little different. We had the Landmarks Commission had a plan, but we didn't have any real teeth in our code that required the applicant to build it. So I forget exactly what happened. I don't know, Lisa, if you remember, but they tore the building down and then something happened with financing or something, and then they couldn't build
Yeah.
what they were planning to build. So we have the,
Oh, that's the pit.
oh, sorry.
No, I mean, I'm totally opposed to a pit downtown, but it was our project. and
Ah,
I worked with you on 260
oh,
adjacent.
right. See how I don't remember things? Yeah.
That-
Yeah.
It was,
That was
yeah,
several years after it got torn down though, right?
it got torn down in 2017 summer.
Yes, I think it goes on the Landmarks Commission too.
You just were always
I was gonna say,
here.
there might be a pattern.
Why do you hate Beluski, Kara?
Yeah, I don't, truly I don't.
There is still panels somewhere.
No, yeah, they are stored, yeah. Mhm, mhm.
I think this like discretionary, like higher benefit to the community too is kind of an interesting conversation for us to have as a historic commission, because our responsibility is to like protect these buildings that people like aren't into right now, but might have community value in the future, right? I think about this kind of thing a lot with like the civic center, I think, is a good example. Like people hate on brutalism. They're like, it's ugly, it's not functional, like it's not cool. But like it's kind of in its 50-year slump right now, right? In another 40, 50 years, people are probably gonna be very into
I think
brutalism,
there are people too.
right? And I think, well, I like brutalism.
Well, our old city hall.
Right, and so I feel like there's this like kind of responsibility that we have as a historic commission in particular to kind of look beyond like what is beneficial in this very specific moment, to think like on the longer term, like is this resource beneficial to the community, even if it's popular right now? And I think that's a lot harder to answer.
Can a resource be beneficial if it's not usable, and it's not rehabilitatable?
Part of the conversation, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
Valuable
This
to
is-
the overall fabric as.
or is it an eyesore that's attracting? By collapse.
How does it work if the criteria for demolition is about the proposed use, but what if they change it, but we've approved
They'd have to come back and modify.
to do whatever they're new, like to continue?
The way our
moving
code
if
is
they're-
now, it goes as one.
So if they were
so
like
there's-
housing and we're like, okay, fine, demo it for housing, and then they're like financing policy, we can't do housing, we want to do a parking lot, they'd have to come back and.
Mhm.
It is difficult because we see this happen. I'm on the planning commission for a different city. And conversation comes up all the time is, well, what if the applicant does this? It's a lot of what ifs.
Mm.
And we can't consider that. We have to consider the
What's in
merits of
front of
what's in
you.
front of us, not what if something else happens. And that
Right,
could
so
be
in-
really difficult.
In this case, proposed isn't a what if, it is a I shall do this.
Right.
Yeah.
This one, Kimberly, though, the proposal was for the hotel. We did have the criteria. in
Oh,
the
we
code.
did.
Yes.
Why do I remember a
I remember
parking
the parking
lot?
lot too. Maybe that was a
Well, that was
previous.
the original owner's proposal and you and I met.
Oh,
with
right,
him
and
over
it-
like 2 years where he screamed at us. with his
Oh,
hands
he
on
was
the
so
parking.
bad.
He kept saying it's not gonna meet the criteria.
And so this was an example, it wasn't this design though.
No.
It was
what
that,
there
because
today.
Bryce and I worked forever with that guy.
I think he pulled it. and-
Oh, so different, okay.
How long ago? Is that the guy that had the
18.
window
Okay.
samples? He like brought window samples and
Yes,
it was like one of my first meetings.
yes. How long have you been on the commission? No, and I think it ended up as a good example of our code working, right? Like I was happy with, you're making me, I was happy with the outcome. I mean, we don't have a pit.
Meetings and I was like.
The Pullman
why is
Hotel
that?
is much better than.
It's much better. But I guess to wrap up, I know it's late, and I would ask you like to consider, yeah, like if we're gonna update our code to clarify some of our definitions. I mean, your discussion tonight, like how would you define community benefit? How would you define that in the context of your mandate, which is not to provide housing for the world, right? It really is about historic resources and what does that mean? So
Well, if it's part
you're
of,
making,
if it's part of the downtown.
Yeah.
then I feel like the community would. To what does downtown need to get people or to maintain its historic nature, and that might include keeping people interested in it.
and having it be usable.
Yeah.
So which. Way would you suggest?
What do you mean, for
Would-
demolition?
How would you vote?
I would vote to demolish it, that I think right now it's not contributing to the downtown community. On that sense, and on a historical sense, it's got integrity, but I think it's.
I think about it from like a perspective of like, this is contributing to a district, right? And so I feel like, is this building like serving a particular like resource type in the district? We don't have any other car lots, right? We don't have anything else like this at all in Salem. This is our only example of this kind of. It's also, I think, like right on the edge, this is something maybe we didn't want to talk about, but it's right on the edge of the criteria, the period of significance for this district. And so it has like larger implications on the whole of the district. Especially like we've already lost another Beluski building. So now we don't have any like modern buildings left in the downtown district, right? So like, is this like, are we starting a conversation about shifting that period of significance earlier because we don't have any examples of these later buildings? And so I feel like this like standard of, is this a higher benefit to the community, is really, really hard for me to wrap my head around. But does this building like, is this building being represented by something else in the district? Like, can we still kind of tell the story that we're trying to tell with this building in the district? Like, that's kind of a more interesting question to me, because I think it gets at like rarity of type. It gets at like the period of significance. It gets at like the sort of the district as a whole, as opposed to like the value of this one particular piece.
I think that's what you have to keep in mind too, is it is a historic district.
Yep.
And even as you were speaking, I thought, gosh, you could really expand the period of significance for down on 1950 now. Might get some interesting resources in there. But we are clearly beyond 1950 for
50 years ago is 1970.
right. That's right.
26, sorry, 1976.
Discussion, you guys.
Yeah, that was good. Thank you.
Right, I think we could stop. Oh, thank you.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think that the only other thing I'll ask you guys is, and you can think about it, you don't have to tell me now, what other topics are you wanting me to talk about with regards to training? Because I mean, I know everyone's tired. I try to do it pretty quick, but I'd like to be able to provide you the opportunity just like this to talk things out before it's in front of you.
like, this is good. I liked the scenario questions, realistic.
Mhm.
Was a good one.
I could do one on, well, you kind of really talked about it tonight. I could make Jake. Character defining features, like what is,
That would be useful. I don't know. I know I wasn't here last time, so I don't know exactly what you talked about for the training, but
I had, yeah.
like a refresher on like ex parte contact,
Yeah.
serial meetings,
Procedural
like
type.
procedural stuff, because I feel like sometimes that's always the harder stuff to remember.
Lisa, what do you feel like? Do you feel like doing that? You do a good one.
Sounds great for Tom to come do.
Right?
Zoom, so we can ask him to do that.
Love it. Probably not next time because May's pretty packed, but
A reminder is nice, especially
Nice.
for like newer folks. I know sometimes those rules are intimidating. You got
Matthew and I.
We had a training, that's right.
Oh, good.
Tom and I did a training.
it's not a
You're the
big
expert.
deal.
But even just a brief, like,
Should be like 10 minutes.
reminder, yeah, about how things work.
I throw in, because we just, the VA thing, maybe like thinking about how, if you get a request to be a consulting party in something larger, how does the CLG operate? And then like, what would be the most effective use of our discussion comments?
okay, cool.
That sort, in case that happens again.
It will.
Sorry.
Is there? Technology would actually be a.
Oh, no, I want to do something on Archie. Yep. I do. Because we do have that criteria in the guidelines.
Yeah, I need to look at it again and then try.
And if we want to update it, that's a really good one because I think that's, I don't know how much we use it. You know what I mean? It should be meaningful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about that at the, yeah, we'll talk about it at the end.
So, we'll move on then to work plan assignments. Look here, so
This one, we're volunteers. Wow.
It's the one with the pretty
We
little.
got photo
pictures.
contest. I mean, I guess, does anyone want to provide an update on any of these? Photo contest, with next month, right? I saw I feel like I saw something advertised for it. Okay, great.
They sent what I had. I didn't see anything moving on them. But I had reflected the link. Facebook groups. Be interested. Not reach out early to them, but reach out. Travel Salem to have them. That's at Salem Kaiser and
I know I wasn't really tracking, if you don't, it's okay. Nicole shared the photo contest details. We
Yeah,
have, a-
there's 6 submissions so far, but 3 of them were submitted by one person. And she didn't really detail the other 3, if they're by another one person or if they're all 3 different people.
and then we have a contact that works with the school district as well.
I printed this email off.
Oh,
Nicole
perfect.
kind of printed out or kind of listed what she was doing, but this is for Historic Preservation Month, but
Yeah, she also did some stuff today additionally for the photo contest to try to get the word out, but I think that was our problem last year, if memory serves, that it's challenging and I'm not sure why. I remember Charles was sad.
Yeah,
Remember Charles did all this
I
outreach?
do.
And
Yeah.
and the school, I submitted repeatedly to the school.
Why?
there's a new process too.
They
for
just kept
Salem
saying,
Kaiser.
it doesn't, you didn't, I don't know.
There was a form you were supposed to fill out.
I did it, I translated, ran it through all the, like, you have to dumb down the grammar so that, beginning readers can read it. It was all kinds of stuff like that. I did all that and they still didn't accept it.
Wow, wow.
We'll hope for more
Sounds like.
We'll do what we can do.
submissions. I saw it on the Salem Connections newsletter.
Yeah,
Yeah, I did see it on that.
so maybe there'll be a slew at the last
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah.
Who knows?
The public outreach awards, person you're doing. I talked actually with Kim a couple weeks ago. I'm gonna postpone my tour to probably October. And
Make it spooky.
and I'll make it kind of spooky. It was
And
gonna
you
be
have to
kind
have
of
an outfit.
it's gonna be like a historic crime tour already. So I think it'll, I know.
There
we
is-
can do something.
There is a tour. A person or group that does like almost October of downtown and it's like haunted tour.
Oh, okay.
Just a
Yeah.
walk around on the street, talking about different buildings, the history of it, and then I can find the info. I can't hammer off the top of my
I
head.
went on one long time ago, but
I did
they've
one
since
this year.
moved.
I want
to.
Through Travel Salem might be worth
I-
us coordinating.
Oh, we could.
So we're not
Yeah, I don't wanna
Yeah.
run into a.
compete. Don't move to their group. Stay with me. Yeah.
The Historic Graham does one too, I think, just for
Man.
just for that. I think it's just internal.
You'll have to
Just
you
on
have
the
to
gram.
battle
Yeah.
them.
I think I've been on that tour a long time ago.
Yeah.
We went inside, we talked about the ghost light.
Yeah.
I still think it would be fun. Or you could just move it to the cemetery.
There you go.
Ah, right? Yeah.
I love my dad did it for a few years where you do the historical cemetery tours. and
Okay,
like,
so maybe you and Kirsten could work on that.
people dress up as. the
She's
person
excited
who's-
about it.
She's
Yes.
like,
New cemetery tour.
See?
This will be very
Pi-
fun.
Pioneer Cemetery.
There's so much
Yeah.
there.
You dress up and
Fun.
you like, you
I
go
have
to each,
relatives.
yeah. You go to each.
And now everybody's
Oh, yeah,
all
it's like
excited.
Cemetery Tales.
Yeah.
See pictures.
My dad's done one of that.
Silverton
one
does
Hillsborough
one,
for a little bit.
Sublimity.
Hillsborough has done
That
them.
one's there.
I can't remember. I don't know if they're still doing it.
They go to different places.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like a
yeah.
Group.
Lone Fir always does one.
Yeah.
And it sells out like immediately. I've tried to get tickets, but.
Okay, well, bring that
Ah.
information to these meetings.
Writing that down. I'm assigning
Pioneer
Kristen.
Cemetery is
Yeah.
a historic resource.
No, it'd be fun.
Kristen
be good.
Cemetery tour.
Yeah.
We'll find out for your down.
Yeah, we'll figure out.
Maybe we could connect with the Friends group.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, Elizabeth Potter.
Pioneers. Yeah, Elizabeth Potter. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's less there's like one really interesting thing there and not so much around the whole more variety.
Public education, we've got a disaster.
Oh, I'm
resilience.
sorry. I had just a couple questions about the tour before you go
Sure,
on.
yeah.
Have you gotten any signups yet?
I haven't checked the registration yet, because I think Nicole just pushed all those notices out like a week or two ago, but I will check. I wrote
Okay,
a
great.
note to check that and the window workshop as well.
Okay, great.
So
Sorry to go back to about, when's the photo contest over?
This month,
April
at
30th.
the end of the month.
Thank you.
Mhm. Tell
Uh,
everyone you know.
So we've got public education, the workshop.
Yeah, you got the flyer.
Yep, and I think I saw it.
This has the wrong date.
Well, no, I mean, yes, it's all out so people can
Here.
register.
I
This
was
is the wrong
wondering,
date.
do you got everything you needed?
date.
It's the wrong date.
This is the wrong date.
It's
So
the
May-
wrong
May
date.
27th.
It's May 27th.
Oh, no.
I think this might be before, I think Nicole caught this. I think someone notified her that I had the wrong date.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
Well, they have it on the right date on the press release.
Yeah,
right?
that one has.
Registration.
Press release has May
Yeah.
9th.
Oh,
Ah.
nice. Okay.
Oh, she did catch it.
Yeah, she caught it. So I'm sorry, this is an old.
Just
This is-
kidding. We were actually seeing if you were paying attention. Gold star, Robert.
That's good. Cultural Heritage Forum liaison.
Yeah, so that one, there will be more, well, you remember Ross came that one time. I don't know that I was here. I don't think I was here. Was I?
You were on the phone.
I was
or
like,
the-
oh,
up in
yeah,
space.
I was up in space, yeah. Yeah, and I think it was Juliana who volunteered for that, and so we are, gonna be having, we're trying to figure out when, an event at, the Lord and Scriver Conservancy, Gady Hollow. And it's actually looking like summer. So didn't we have our landmarks committee meeting? So I was gonna ask, this
We
is
had our
kind of a
awards and all that.
segue. Yeah. Do you, because we could do that again if you liked it. It was sort of a garden party, giving the awards in June thing.
It's nice for the people who win the
It
awards.
was nice. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Connie likes that.
Yes.
Okay, we'll have dancing. So we can reach out.
Yeah.
But the disaster resiliency, so we have additional educational stuffs and things that we're gonna be distributing to the nonprofits, the heritage organizations. And so that's, I don't think it would be the same day, but certainly Juliana's gonna help with that, and you all would be welcome to come. You know, this is ongoing work that we're doing. We have kits, more stuffs and things to give people to prepare for the end of times. Sorry, I shouldn't say it, but yes.
Historic designation.
Oh, yeah, and I don't know, Kirsten, making sounds because we had talked about bringing forth Englewood next month. So we should just find a time to meet and we can just check in.
Sure.
Yes.
I think
next-
the big question is still on my mind is the wading pool. We were gonna look into see if we think that it was in repair, replace, or if it was kind of a new.
And
design.
yeah, and we did get into the old records one more time, and I talked to Rob Romanek at Parks, who did look through as much as he could, and we just haven't been able to find anything to help us understand it better.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I
Okay.
think I can take one more stab at looking at Laserfish and looking at council minutes.
Well, I found a newspaper article from like 2000 and I don't remember exactly, maybe earlier than that, maybe like 2000, where it implied a rebuild of the.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I would guess, based on what you're telling me and based on what I found on newspaper, that it's probably a non-contributing
Okay.
nature.
Yeah,
So,
that would be enough.
okay, all right.
Want us to set a time to just check in?
I don't know if we need it. I think I'm almost done with my portion of it.
Okay.
I need to double check with Juliana because she was gonna do the description.
Okay.
So maybe a meeting for all of us. We can kind of talk about what's left to do.
Help us schedule.
Okay.
We've got the scan survey, historic neighborhood. Yeah,
We have a new intern starting next week.
yay, very cool.
So I don't know if you remember Marcel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he got like another job. So. Well, So,
How dare he.
Cheyenne Dickinson, yeah, she's starting next week. And she graduate student, yeah, graduate student, U of O,
Okay,
historic preservation and planning.
nice.
I'm gonna convince her to get archaeology and then she'll be able to.
Like super, like,
You'll get to meet her at some point. She'll be working through the end of September.
Do you still need any help with this?
Yeah.
Survey stuff?
Yeah, as much as
Yes,
you have time to do, just updating the fields. One we may want to go into is the property we talked about today.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
What-
not yet, you have to get through this.
Leave it alone.
yeah, we
Not
can't, yeah,
yet, don't talk about it right now.
Don't walk by. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Shield your eyes. That's it. Public archaeology.
Did a proclamation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only thing I can say or talk about is the proclamation. So last year I submitted the proclamation for October to be Oregon archaeology. And I did that last year in June. Got back to me at the end of September.
You were well ahead of the game.
Yeah. So this year, I did it in March and I requested that they get back to me in the middle of August. So they still haven't gotten back to me, but I figured middle of August, if I don't hear from them, then I'll start sending emails asking.
Is this
about
through
it.
like the governor's office?
Yeah.
Okay.
This October, right?
Yeah, and the other thing, I had a meeting last night with the Oregon Archaeological Society, and they want to take back up the development of the poster.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be great?
That would be great, yeah.
And they're really excited because it's gonna be their 75th anniversary in September.
Yeah.
So, and they have, I don't know, there are a lot of really exciting energy around them now, and
Yeah.
so I think we could support, I don't know,
Yeah, no, that would be great.
that.
I mean, there's folks on there that might know the history of the.
Yeah,
poster,
there are, there's,
the-
yep.
Like the positives and the negatives of what was tried in the past, so
Mhm.
not, they can talk to me. But yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. The last,
There's probably a committee if you want to be on it.
that's what it used to be. It used to be a
Yeah.
committee. and
Did
then
that work?
The committee worked, but it was kind of like not a good boys club, but like it, like.
Oh, yeah.
You had to be part of that cohort.
Mm, to
and-
be able to, sure.
Yeah, for your opinion to be listened. So that kind of made a rift and then
Oh, that's
the-
hard.
the committee went away. Tried to do their own thing, didn't really
Yeah.
pan out, but then that's when SHPO took it over. And then,
I remember that.
yeah, and then SHPO was like, oh yeah, we have our own designer and our own thing, and then they had that huge layoff that.
Yeah, and then they don't, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, right now OAS has a designer who just finished redesigning their logo, which hadn't been changed since the 50s or something. So that's who's gonna,
Did they talk about the impacts? adverse
Yeah,
impact to
I
the
know.
historical logo.
It's already, it's,
It's a historical,
oh no.
we're trapped in a loop. Yeah, move forward.
Anyway, yeah.
Increasing financial support, I know Charles not here, but I don't know if you had any update.
I don't think,
Okay,
I don't
that's
know.
Yeah.
His baby's having a birthday today.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Back to my agenda here.
You grant that. Yeah.
Then we had outreach items here.
So that's this.
Yeah, and a lot of them were kind of on the ones we were just talking about too, but
Mhm.
yeah, we got some information about the Willamette Heritage Center speaker, Charles Sams speaking.
Everyone should go. I think you have to register and they have to pay.
For what?
Charles Sams, he was the director for the National Park Service for a while, and he's a member of the Umatilla
I
tribe.
think so.
He's a great,
I've never seen him speak. I've heard he's really good.
he's really good.
Yeah.
He came to the OAPA conference. He was the.
And then, let's see, we've got a new HLC logo and brand.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yes,
think what we talked about
that's
was-
future, we haven't done anything, but yeah.
What we talked about at one point, either last meeting or the meeting before.
What do you
was
want?
Maybe, well, having, I think there was somebody on city staff, marketing or something.
We have
don't know.
designers and things, but you have to you can't just say design something.
Do it.
You have to
Yeah.
give them a place to start.
We just use like, chat.
So you could, I mean, ooh, that's a good job for Shai. We could ask our intern to look at different examples of logos from other local jurisdictions. I mean, not that we want to pull her off the.
I don't even know what our logo
Survey
looks like, to be honest. I
don't think we have one.
can't mentally recall.
We have one. Okay,
Yeah,
we'll bring some stuff to you.
Yeah.
It has to be something that looks good on like shirts, hats,
Well, you want the merch.
yeah.
Swag.
Yeah, swag.
HLC swag.
Yeah. And not too colorful because that's expensive.
3 colors, back. 2
Yeah.
colors, fine, yeah.
Okay.
The newsletter stuff, have we? worked
Oh, I
on-
did want to talk about
that
that,
at all?
yeah, because, if you all still want to try to do like the seasonal, yeah, we do need to start thinking about a theme for our summer newsletter. I think in years past, we've done the, award winners,
Mhm.
because the timing works out well.
We-
And we don't have to do a print version this time, it's just digital, so.
We talked at 1.2 in the recent past about like having, because I think we do them quarterly, right?
Yep.
We talked about doing them like maybe twice a year.
You can do whatever you want.
Instead,
We're really only required to do the one,
yeah,
which we
because
already did.
it was getting hard to just get people to write, or because you're writing articles and it takes
Yep.
time and
Yeah,
so.
so we don't have to do a summer one if you don't want.
To have us, I mean, I feel like it's easy because we could just put, good job, here's the award winner.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's like a, maybe.
you don't really have to write
Do
it.
summer and winter sort of
Yeah.
thing. I mean, I'm actually in favor of like just a twice a year. I think it'd be a lot more
Yeah.
achievable than. Yeah. And we also talked about maybe reviving some articles from the past.
We have so many.
Because if there's stuff that's relevant and it's, why not do that?
Does the summer one come out after Public Archaeology Day?
So at the site, yeah, that's gonna be Saturday, June 13th. So most likely it will. I mean, we can pick when it comes out. Why? You want to advertise for it?
I was just gonna say, if it happens to come out before.
Oh,
then
yeah, yeah.
you should advertise for it.
That's a good idea. I mean, I think though, what we have to keep in mind is like, let me talk this out. If you want to make the decisions about the awards at your May meeting. Yeah. And then we present them in June. The timing wouldn't quite work out.
And
Yeah.
I'm not
No, no,
proposing
but-
that we change the newsletter. I was just,
Yeah, another way to,
Yeah, we could put some photos of it in the letter.
there you go.
That would be good.
oh yeah, that was
And
fun.
we could commemorate what we're doing for all this stuff.
All this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on in historic
We actually
preservation
do.
month,
That's
so
like
do,
quite a bit.
yeah.
maybe just like documenting that in the newsletter would be a good way to get that information out in more ways.
Window workshop we've got down, homeowner guide. Have the toolbox
That's like
down.
a whole other day of, that's a whole other meeting of discussion.
I agree. So I'm good kind of moving on, from these, but yeah, we should talk at some point about those and promoting the toolbox.
I'm excited for the window workshop.
Yeah.
I know.
Sure.
Thank you, Connie, for all your work.
Me too. Publicity and.
I found a really cool place. Oh my gosh, what is it called? Sweet. I went there for lunch and they do catering. Well, I have a sweet tooth, right? So anyway, I was gonna go to place that I brought snacks from before that has the like tortilla chips, not tortilla chips, but the pita chips and the different dips. But this place is
Better.
called Sweetly Baked. Have
Sweetly
you
Baked?
heard of
Oh, yeah.
this? Have you been?
Yes. Is that on State Street?
Amazing. Anyway, they will bring like a little cart of all their, you can get a sweet one or you can get like savory stuff. So,
Like a pastry cart?
uh-huh,
Wow, I like that.
like a little, I know. I'll send a link. I have no idea how much it costs, but I was gonna.
All
Anyway.
right. Historic preservation officer report.
Okay, so you should have in your packet, so this is the first time we've done it, so it's not very pretty, sorry, it's not. But it's informative, so you can see the archaeological reviews and then the historic design reviews that Jake and I have been working on, and I think that we should also add our long-range projects and grants we're managing. So you guys can feel sorry for us and how tired we are. But yeah, we wanted to give you a sense about the kind of stuff that we're working on. And so that's there. I did also,
In progress or complete?
minor in progress,
Could you maybe add a column or something just to like,
describe where. the
just like so
status.
we know like, are you done with these and they've happened
I'm
or
not
like we're
done.
still, even if it's like a header or something?
For sure. You want me to describe more about what it is? Yeah, status, how about status?
Status.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, no,
Okay.
nothing hard.
So painful. Yeah, no, that's fine. And anything else you want to know, let me know. I did want to share that we had the Qingming Festival
Oh, yeah.
at Pioneer Cemetery on April 4th, and it went really well. We were initially a little worried because Portland Lone Fir, they had their very first celebration, and a lot of it was based on what we're having here. And I heard though they were kind of frustrated and sad because the Metro, while they sent people to speak, they didn't take the fencing down, and so it was like they were putting flowers on the fence, and it was kind of
Yeah.
because it's all, anyway.
Yeah.
But it went really well. The mayor came in, did her usual proclamation. We
It
had,
was like beautiful weather.
it was beautiful weather. We had lots of folks from the Chinese community there. We had Willamette students do music again. It was really a positive, yeah, another really meaningful experience. And then I shouldn't say it was weird, but it was a little odd. I went to council on Monday at the mayor's request because she was very moved by the experience. And so we redid the proclamation. So Raymond Lin and I think 3 other Chinese elders came and accepted the proclamation. And I did a short little presentation about the history because a lot of people don't really understand what it is. And in fact, I don't know if you all, I mean, you know. I don't know if Drew, if you know much about it.
I think you talked about it at
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah.
last year.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, that's right. I did. Yeah. Anyway, so that was good, but what was funny, why I had a moment about it is that Raymond, he was really shy. You know how sometimes like he was handed the mic and he immediately handed it to one of the other elders and he didn't like want to say anything. And then like we're all done, we're leaving, we're walking out. If you've been to Laos, like he's at the back, right? So no, he's not mic'd or anything. And then he turns around and he starts yelling. What did he say, Lisa? He was just like,
Thank you, Salem.
yeah, yeah. Beat from the back of the castle. Was just like, what? I mean, it's great. Everyone was gracious. They were like, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, wanted to share that. That was really positive.
Good.
And then I think the only other thing I wanted to share, maybe you already know, the Oregon Heritage Conference is at the end of April. Are gonna go. It's just in Woodburn, so fairly close. So if that's of interest to you, sign on up and go. Do they let you guys go to stuff?
Oh,
We
Like
don't we don't
ODOT?
have any
no,
training
not
money.
this year.
No, training money.
No, absolutely no training money.
Like you couldn't go to NWAC, that's right.
Yeah, and no travel out of state.
Yeah.
I think those are the main things I can think of right now.
I am giving our annual report to council at some point
When is that?
this month.
Jake, when is that?
Yeah, very end of the month.
I was gonna say, hasn't popped up in my calendar
Oh my
yet.
goodness, yes, we should be there. Just
Yesterday,
It was, it was Monday.
I think it's the 27th, yeah.
So staff will be there to support you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah, I need to, well, when they publish the agenda, I'll take a look.
Let us know, I mean, in the past, like Kristen, I think I wrote up stuff. I don't know if you need us to write anything.
Yeah, if you want some like bullet points or
Yeah, that'd
whatever.
be great, just some
And then you can
brief talking
speak it,
points.
yeah, whatever you need.
It'll put me at the beginning of the agenda.
Do they?
I can't remember what section, well, I don't know. if it's
Is
changed.
it like special orders? Do you know?
Special orders of business.
Gosh,
Is that
way in
kind
the
of-
end.
You'll have post-traumatic stress with me.
It'll be like 3 hearings.
Is it streamed live? You can just watch the live and then as they get.
Yeah.
closer to the
In your
agenda,
car.
At least in the library, it's more comfortable.
Or you'll get all angry at the hearings and get up and testify.
Oh, I could do that. And then come back.
No. That'd be fun.
Now I'm giving the annual report. Yeah. We're doing that
Oh,
all wrong.
right. That's all I think we have unless you have anything, Lisa. Okay, we're good.
Okay.
You guys need any help for the window workshop?
Uh-huh.
I'm planning to attend, so if
Yes,
you need
please.
like someone to do stuff, sign
Great.
It's a free for all.
It's a free fall.
Well, I
So
did
that's
have
yes.
you there, so yeah, feel free to sign me something and I'll.
So we'll send out more information, but we'll be there a little early to set up and I think we'll follow up. I think it would be great if we could have like a Zoom meeting
Yeah.
to have everyone in one virtual.
Did you send any email or something with like the press release or? I
No,
didn't
did
get
we?
anything.
Maybe we should do that. I'll send you another email. It's okay, don't worry.
Just so that the group that's been.
You just
talking
wanna,
knows what's
yeah,
going on.
Michelle, I'll send you an email, but we'll wanna send just an email to the group and maybe it'll be also like a doodle poll or
Yeah.
people still do
Well,
that.
and you see, yeah, we could do a doodle poll.
Unfortunately,
They just, so we have the link,
with all
the
the,
website for registration so that everybody can put it on their websites.
yeah, I mean, and that we'll all meet and just talk about the logistics of the day. Okay.
Anything else? All right, meeting's adjourned at
2.5 hours.
7:15.
She's so tired.
So Kimberly, would it be like passive aggressive if I took the flyer for the windows and just put them in like historic homes?
Yeah.
Put it on the